From the people who help you know your competition, IntelliCheck presents the Multi-Point Inspection Podcast. The Multi-Point Inspection Podcast brings you news and stories from the automotive world told in an informative and entertaining way.
An escalation of New York. That's what.
Beer float ice cream, a creamy vanilla flavor.
WDXI and Cool 1.
And we estimate that the reconditioning industry is a $5.4 billion industry. Reconditioning has been going on for a long time. So it's either very few dealerships still do it 100% in-house. It seems like the majority of dealerships outsource it.
It's been 11 years since I handed in the keys to my parts truck for the last time. But for 13 years, I spent my daylight hours, and more often than I preferred, some of my nighttime hours, managing territories and delivering collision parts to body shops and dealerships. You become tunnel visioned on the task at hand. Dealerships are abuzz with activity on a daily basis. You learn to tune out a lot of the things going on around you because you have a schedule to keep. But because I was in the collision industry, I definitely noticed the third-party auto glass installers and paintless dent repair technicians on the lot, because that was business that I wasn't getting. But I must confess that even with 13 years of boots on the ground experience under my belt, I've never really thought about how huge and important the reconditioning sublet industry is, especially since the pandemic. That is, until I had a conversation with Randy Kobat.
My name is Randy Kobat, and I'm the president of Repair on Demand.
Investment banking firm Colonnade Advisors, LLC, published a white paper in 2021 on the automotive reconditioning industry.
So, Gina, I'm going to hand it off to you. If you could tell me, why did you write a white paper on the automotive reconditioning sector out of nowhere?
Well, first of all, let's talk about what automotive reconditioning is. We here at Colonnade talk a lot about what makes money for a dealership beyond just selling cars. So we talk about automotive F&I, which makes up 25% of a dealership's profits. Fixed operations makes up another 46% of a dealership's operations. The rest is selling cars. So to be profitable selling a car, so the margins are so slim, they have to be able to move cars quickly through the system. And that's where auto reconditioning comes in.
Randy Kobat agrees.
And it's really the more sophisticated dealers that treats each part of their business as its own profit center. It's not just sales, right? They break it into sales and F&I, and then they also look at fixed ops, reconditioning as a profit center, quite frankly. They look at body shops. They have big parts distribution components of their business outside of just what they use internally. So that's about a third of the market that operate that way.
Randy says that COVID-19 and the supply chain issues that followed changed the way dealerships dealt with used cars, and that in turn caused many to double down on the focus of their reconditioning operations.
I think we're going to look back on COVID as there's going to be case studies done that you're going to study in business school about what happened during COVID. And it's been great as kind of a student of business and of the industry. It was a fascinating time to live through and now look back on. So I was leading vAuto at the time during COVID, and it was the first time in anybody that I've talked to in their career where a used car was an appreciating asset. And when you think back on it, it makes sense, right? So during 2020, even into 2021, we under-manufactured new cars based on demand by about 8 or 9 million units. And so the immediate impact in 2020 and 2021 was used cars became the bread and butter of dealerships. And dealers, quite frankly, didn't have to be really good at executing on the used car side because consumers couldn't find good quality used cars and they couldn't buy a new car. So they were paying astronomical rates for whatever used car that they could get their hands on. And now how that is impacting our business today is those 8 to 9 million units that we under manufactured would now be coming back to the market, about a third of them, as they would be coming off their 3-year lease. So it's still creating supply challenges for the used car side of the business. And so one of the things that was really interesting during that time was dealers expanding the channels by which they found good quality used cars. So those that were really good at buying cars out of service, really benefited from that time because they still had the ability to buy cars out of service. And dealers that weren't doing that started doing that. Off the street purchases by looking at Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, consumer listed cars on AutoTrader. I was also at the time leading Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offer, and that business really grew tremendously during that time as another source of good quality used cars. And I think what dealers have learned is that you can get good quality used cars from other channels, and they're much more profitable because the cost to market is significantly less buying them on trade from a consumer than they are from buying them at auction. So I think that is here to stay. It was interesting. We saw Carvana at the time. They were spending more dollars advertising that they would buy your car than they were the fact that they could sell you a car as well.
And as far as reconditioning as a profit center?
Yeah, I think the best reconditioning dealers don't treat reconditioning as a cost center. They do treat it as profit as well. So you get the profit from labor, you get the profit from parts. So many times a reconditioning internal RO for those dealers that treat it as a profit opportunity are making 40% gross profit on those 20 million ROs. So it can be a pretty lucrative part of the business. And the best performing dealers charge the same labor rates and really have it working as a kind of a used car factory, if you will.
Randy says that a significant percentage of reconditioning work by franchise dealerships is outsourced to third-party vendors. And this is where challenges arise and communications start to break down.
It's a fascinating part of the business, and parts of the business are more automated than others. And the disconnect between the automated parts and the unautomated parts is where the inefficiency comes in. So if you think about it, we're going to sell roughly 20 million used cars at retail this year. So that's essentially 20 million ROs that get written to get that car ready to be resold. So it's a significant portion of the business that often gets overlooked. Of those 20 million ROs, about 10% of those, in some cases even more. I was chatting with an independent dealer in the Boston area recently, and he said it's up to 40% of his cars that go through reconditioning. But on average, it's about 10% of those have major body work and need to spend some time with a body shop. The other 85, 90% in the franchise world go through the service department primarily. But in that body shop scenario, as I mentioned, when it goes to the body shop, 80% of the work is outsourced by the body shop. And when it goes through the dealership, after the service department does their portion of the reconditioning work, there's still about 25% of that work that gets outsourced. And where the big disconnect comes in the franchise world is that the service department is really good at getting their part of the work done. And then the used car manager typically is responsible for getting the detailing, the wheel repair, the PDR, that third-party technician, that part of the work, the sublet work, he's responsible for managing that. So many times there's a disconnect and there's just poor communication overall across that whole ecosystem.
According to Randy, the quality of technology used for communication should be on par with the technology that is currently available in other aspects of fixed operations.
And on the customer pay side of fixed ops, there's great technology that we see our clients use every day to do an inspection, multi-point inspection, whether it's MyKarma or AutoPoint or, Xtime. But where they fail is in the communication many times back to the used car manager to get approvals. And they're using WhatsApp or just a text message, and it's hard to close that gap. And so our solutions really help manage that entire process, whether it's in an internal service department part of the job or it's with that sublect technician that helps facilitate better communication and more efficient workflow.
We'll learn how Repair on Demand has combined multiple products to help dealerships keep their reconditioning efforts running smoothly and efficiently after a word from our sponsor. Perception is not always reality.
And, there's this perception that the dealerships are more expensive for everything. And Intellicheck kind of confirms that that's not the case.
Intellicheck helps dealerships become aware of where their prices stand in regard to their competitors.
And Intellicheck does a good job of giving us that pricing data to confirm that we're in the market.
And this allows dealerships to make their customers aware of their competitive pricing.
I placed 2 placards in the business center so they could see that while they're over there working on computers. I also placed it in our coffee area. We have a glass wall there, so when they walk in, as they're putting their creamer and sugar in their coffee, they're going to look up and see the pricing for our pricing as well as our competitors.
Introducing IntelliShare. IntelliShare contains all of Intellicheck's promotional tools that you can use to promote your favorable prices, including IntelliAds, the printable flyers that you can show off in easel displays, IntelliMedia for your digital media boards, and IntelliWidgets, so you can show off price comparisons on your website and even let your customers schedule from the widget.
Just having access to that data that they're able to provide gives us a good plan of how we're going to proceed.
Call 877-827-7273 or go to Intellicheck.com to find out more about how the IntelliShare series can help you grow your business.
So we are a division of our holding company called Repairify. Repairify has 2 divisions. One is obviously Repair on Demand. The other is a business called Aztec, and their primary customer is the body shop. And they have diagnostic and calibration hardware tools that help the body shop get that car ready to be put back on the road before and after the repair is done. And our division, Repair on Demand, was put together 2 years ago through acquiring 4 different companies that are part of my portfolio. One of them is called Mobile Tech RX, which is a software platform that's used by sole proprietors and smaller businesses that are in the paintless dent repair business. Another is called Recon Pro, which is a similar software platform for technicians, but more enterprise scale. So we have very large customers using Recon Pro as their technician tool to allow the technician to manage their workflow and get their work done, create an invoice, etc. We also have an inspection business called OneGuard Inspections, which is really the market leader when it comes to third-party warranty inspections and post-sale inspections and arbitration inspections at auction. And then we have our 4th division or our 4th business that we acquired, which is called Blue Driver, which is a handheld diagnostic tool. The majority of that business, we sell $12,000 to $15,000 a month through Amazon to DIYers. And then we also have a commercial grade product that we sell directly to auctions, dealerships. We sell through third-party software appraisal tools, so they can use that software when they're and that device when they're appraising a vehicle, deciding what to pay for it to bring it onto their lot. And we're bringing all these businesses together because we want to create a market network for car repair. So we've got 16,000 technicians using our software that I mentioned, We have a lot of customers that recondition cars, and there's a ton of inefficiency that happens in between that job supplier and that technician doing the work. And we think we can create a more effective and efficient process. So we're bringing these capabilities together and bringing a new offering to market in June with our first beta client.
So how does repair on demand work?
So today, inspections are prevalent in the industry, right? Digital inspections happen every day with the tools that I mentioned, whether it's AutoPoint, MyKarma, et cetera. And so forward-thinking fixed ops directors, service managers are trying to leverage those tools for the reconditioning process. But where they begin to fall down is approvals and the sublet work that also happens. So where we start is we mimic the same high quality digital inspection that you can get from an AutoPoint or a MyKarma that technicians and service managers are really comfortable doing today. And so you just do it in our tool instead of the other side of the business that you use when you're doing a customer pay RO. And so we create a comprehensive inspection, comprehensive RO, and then the line items on the RO can be an internal job done by your fixed ops department, or the line item can be sent to a sublet technician. And so that work that's done by the sublet then shows up in our software at the sublet technician's software instance, and better communication already starts to happen, and you can schedule that work to get done. Because today what happens is every Thursday my PDR guy shows up. Well, if I want to get a car frontline ready, because now used car prices are back to being a depreciating asset again, like it was pre-COVID. Wholesale prices are dropping. So the time that you have to get that car frontline ready and sold is shrinking to make it profitable. It used to be 45 days. I think now some people say it's 30 days. Some people say it's less, where you have a profit opportunity on that used car. And so getting that car frontline ready is even more important today than it's ever been. So shaving off a few days here and there because today's Friday and I want to get that dent popped by my PDR tech before a week goes by, you can communicate more effectively and efficiently if that technician has time to come back to the dealership before his next normal arrival day of Thursday. You can get that done and create faster turnaround.
And what if that PDR tech can't get to you before next Thursday?
Yeah, so we start with their existing network. And so we start as our value proposition around making your existing partners more effective and efficient. And then over time, as we work with our clients, we give them the opportunity to see the metrics around how their sublet technicians are performing. And then we might have recommendations in their area that are technicians in our network that might be able to perform better given the history that we have on how they're performing for our other clients. So we can make those recommendations if they're interested in looking for alternatives, or we can give them the data that they need to have good accountability conversations with their existing sublets.
As you heard in the beginning of the episode, the reconditioning industry by some estimates is a $5.4 billion industry. Randy says he's excited to see more franchise dealerships using technology to up their reconditioning game.
I love my franchise clients, and I've been in the industry for a while, but I have to say, and maybe this is a challenge to my franchise friends, the best performing reconditioning dealers are independents because they've really created that used car factory. And in the largest independent dealers, the most sophisticated independent dealers have created standalone reconditioning centers where that's all they do. The biggest of the big, CarMax, right? They've got independent reconditioning centers that are responsible for reconditioning cars for multiple lots. And we love to see best performing dealers really leverage the technology to be successful.
Randy says that not only can dealerships use reconditioning as a profit center, it can also serve as a training ground for technicians.
we are really focused on technician shortage. And I think, the best dealers that we work with that have these used car factories, really leverage reconditioning as a way to train mid-level techs and get them ready to be master techs and do more complicated work in the future.
According to Randy, with software that connects technicians with dealerships and other repair shops that might not have capabilities to do certain tasks in-house, the possibilities are endless.
One of the fastest growing service types that we're involved in is the ADAS calibration. So, the systems that are on the cars today that are safety oriented, backup cameras, lane assist, lane change assist, sensors around the car that, really work tremendously well and help make driving much more safe. But those things get out of alignment really easy. And so body shops, dealerships are needing to do more of these calibrations. And we have a lot of technicians in our network that do them. And we're really connecting technicians with those businesses that need to get that work done. And so we're seeing that as a tremendous growth opportunity for us.
And some of these connections that have been made thanks to the vast network that Repair on Demand employs, Randy did not anticipate.
An example is we've built up a really strong network because of some of the clients that we work with, a really strong network with locksmiths and key replacement. And so some of our clients that we work with today in other parts of our business have key warranty sides of their business, which requires them to connect one of their consumers that owns a key warranty with a place that can get the key made. And it's very rare that you can go to an Ace Hardware or a hardware store and get a key physically cut these days. Again, it's all software programming to the key fob. So either connecting them with a dealership or one of our third-party locksmiths that's willing to go to the consumer's house is something that we are working with a little bit, but that we were brought into that by the business-to-business client, and it was their side of the business that they saw that we could help them with. Getting a car frontline ready faster has never been more important. Used car values are depreciating, and getting a good quality used car frontline ready and ready to be retailed is really an important part of the business and hasn't been a big focus of a lot of dealers. And we're really excited about the space and the opportunity and bringing our capabilities together to create a solution that we think really is highly differentiated from other things that are available in the market today.
I'd like to thank Randy Kobat with Repair on Demand for this look into the reconditioning industry. You can find the Multi-Point Inspection Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And be sure to subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. It helps with the algorithm thinking. Executive producers for the Multi-Point Inspection Podcast are Melissa Marlette and Joe Gibson. It is written, produced, and narrated by me, Brandon Barnett. This episode's featured music is Fill It Up by Andy Shaw. And check out the full uncut interview with Randy on Intellicheck's YouTube channel, where we do a deep dive into Amazon's top-selling scan tool, Blue Driver. Intellicheck. Know your competition.